This is the One Tigris Stella 4-season tent, and we were looking to get a new tent, and this one really drew my eye because of a number of things. It's reasonably priced. So surprisingly, this one is 190 quid. We actually bought it on a sale for 160, and I have to tell you that this is an actual steal, because this tent so far, and we have only tested it for one night, and it hasn't rained on us yet, but so far we're actually really pleased with it. I'm going to give you a few bits, the good parts, the bad parts, but firstly, it's only 2 kilos, which means that we should be able to go out hiking with it, and it shouldn't be much of a problem. It's probably one of the lightest weight ones I could find for our price range. Now, the reason that we got this one is that it is a 2-man tent, but a spacious one. It has an inner, you'll have to forgive me because I've forgotten the specifications and my phone battery has gone, but it's within 6 foot and 4 foot for the dimension. So it's spacious. It means that we can get 2 of us in and the dog, which is most important. And there's still room. There's still plenty of room in there, which we were pleasantly surprised with. It's got 4 pockets so that you can stash your stuff as you need it. It's got a hook on the top so you can put a little lantern if you've got an electric lantern, or like we do sometimes, we have little fairy lights. It's also got 4 little loops along the edges so that you can actually tie up some string if you needed to, and dry some socks or whatever else that you need. Overall, this tent, I mean, I particularly like the design. I like the colour. It's quite unique. I haven't really come across a black tent before, which is also what drew my attention. I like how spacious it is. So for a 2-man, you sometimes, I mean, we've had ones that are virtually coffins, an absolute nightmare. This one has 2 doors, so that you can access either side. You can leave it open if you wanted to just have a bit of a lie-in, drinking a cup of tea. It's got nice spacious porch areas on both sides, and the beauty of it is that you can pretty much kneel up inside. So when you're packing your stuff, you don't have to have your backside hanging out the door or anything like that. There is so much room. This is the first time I've actually considered, for a very long time since I first started camping, is buying an inner up first. So this is when you put the inner lining of the tent up first and then put the outer shell on. I don't like that for a number of reasons, and that's usually because if you're out hiking and it's raining and you're trying to put the inner up first, you're really going to struggle with trying to keep it dry inside. But this tent has an inner of 20D nylon. The bottom sheet, the ground sheet, is 40D nylon. So in theory, it should be water resistant. So that's actually a plus. The fact that it's a 4-season tent as well, this is a bonus. You can actually tell from the inner. So from the inner shell, you will see that there is only a tiny bit of netting, and that's on the doors. That gives you a little bit of ventilation. But then that means this is a true 4-season. I do have a 4-season 1-man tent, but the ventilation in there is so big that the wind just kind of runs through and makes you cold. This one, you can tell that it's a 4-season the moment you get in it, because it already feels like it's warming up with your own body temperature. The one thing I say, we tested it last night, it probably dropped down to about 14 degrees C. And we've had plenty of times, even in the summer, where we've been a bit chilly. I'm a cold sleeper, so is my partner. But from the moment we got in, I knew that I was going to be too hot, and I pretty much slept outside of my sleeping bag for the entire night, which is great, because if you want to do super lightweight camping, especially in the summer, I think you could probably get away with a jungle blanket or something like that, because it's just so warm. So that actually gives you a lot more smoke, apparently. So that gives you a lot more choice for lighter weight camping in different seasons. So I don't need to use my 4-season sleeping bag in the summer, and that is an absolute bonus. On the downside of that is We don't know if this is a one-off because it is the first time that we've tried this tent. We found a tiny little bit of condensation on the head end of the tent down at the bottom, but we will come back with that one once we've tried it more. So the other thing about the floor of the tent, the ground sheet, the material feels really, really smooth. So like I said, it was 20D on the top for that, for the top of the inner, and 40D nylon on the bottom. But it feels really smooth and really thin. It is ripstop, but personally, I didn't really want to risk it, and because we invested in this tent, I decided to buy a footprint just to make double sure that we protect that base. I'm pretty sure that it's actually stronger than it feels, but I don't really want to push it, especially not early in its early days of use. The material's super lightweight, so like I said before, it comes in at 2 kilos. We can separate that out so that one of us is carrying the poles, one of us is carrying the actual tent itself. But in actual fact, and considering that it's warm and comfortable, I would be quite happy, and I did last night. I carried the tent myself in my bag, so I would consider, if I was going off to do solo camps in the winter and if it's cold, I would definitely use this tent compared to my one man. I would worry about a weak point in the tent poles. They cross over. Only time will tell of how strong that will be, and I don't know what would happen if it does fail when you're out. I always take some Gorilla Tape with me anyway, always a little bit of for paracord, so whether you can do a temporary fix, it should be fine. My hope is that it's actually been built to last, but like I said, time will tell. The outer tent actually clips onto the inner, so it's not going to just blow off, not easily. It will take the whole tent with it. It's also got little Velcro strips inside that actually hug it properly to the poles. It comes with pegs that, frankly, I do have some of these that I use with my tarp when I do my tarp setup, but they're uncomfortable to be putting in the ground. They don't feel all that secure. They feel tough and they feel like they will do the job, but personally, if I'm going to do any upgrades, it's going to be with the pegs. The guy lines, you only get 4 guy lines with this tent. They seem steady enough. They're guy lines. They are black, but they're threaded with a reflective material, so that if at night time you can shine your torch and it looks like cool little beads running down the side of them, which is a good feature because nobody wants to be tripping over their guy lines. You don't get as many pegs as you would think that you would need. After you've actually pegged out the tent, you only get 2 pegs for the guy lines, so that's 4 guy lines using just 2 pegs. So not quite sure about the thinking on that side of things. It was a really still night, so we haven't tested this thing out in the wind. We don't know how sturdy it is going to be in the wind. That one is going to be a test that will come up. Overall, this tent seems to be really good quality. It seems to be made well. All the stitching looks to be in really good order, and it looks like something that will stay with us for quite a long time. If it's going to be our favourite tent, we shall find out. I'm certainly at this early stage very excited about the quality and hopefully the durability of this tent. This is the size of the bag. I've taken the poles out. As you can see, this is the shortest that they're going to go. So I like to put these down the side of my bag, and this will just scrunch up. It's nice and light and fits in the inside of my bag. Overall, really pleased with this bag.